Okay, I got distracted. My mom texted me and I got confused. I thought she was downstairs and I had to stop my video, but nope, I didn't. So we're back. So the movement will preach that the simulation is reality, that the physical world is the illusion, and that freedom is achieved by fully accepting the digital confinement. The prison authorities will be uncertain whether to intervene. By 2033, the movement will have spread to multiple VR prisons. The Institute's analysis suggests that the movement's theology will be surprisingly coherent, a Neptunian fusion of Gnosticism, transhumanism, and conspiracy theory. All right. So, the panopticon's blind spot. As the digital surveillance system becomes more complex, it will also become more brittle. By 2034, a coordinated cyber attack will blind the system for 72 hours. In that window, thousands of monitored defenders will simply walk away. Some will be recaptured, many will not. The event will be called the Great Disappearance. The authorities will not admit that the system was compromised. They will claim the offenders escaped through exceptional circumstances. The truth, that the panopticon was always a dream, will be suppressed. Agony of the digital prison under Neptune and Aries. You do not know if you're being watched. The system is opaque. The rules are unknown. The sentence is indefinite. You are not in a cell, but you are not free. You are in limbo, and limbo under Neptune is indistinguishable from purgatory. All right? Let's talk about the financial and labor mirage. Neptune in Aries is a transit of speculative bubbles, fraud, and the collapse of value into meaninglessness. And it sounds scary, but life is scary. Unless you choose for it not to be. Yep, you choose that life is not scary. It's pretty simple, actually. When you know you're gonna die, why would you be scared? Why the fuck are so many of us scared of bullshit that is not even gonna matter? None of it's going to matter at the end of the day. When you're gone, and you better believe that, you're not going to be able to think or feel whatever you were feeling in that moment of fear. So, the financial system, already stressed under Saturn and Aries, will enter a phase of hallucinatory prosperity followed by devastating reckoning. Markets and investments, the bubble of dreams. So under Neptune and Aries, investors will chase narratives, not fundamentals. The result will be a series of spectacular bubbles, each one inflated by collective delusion, each one bursting into scandal and ruin. So we see our projections here. The FDVR bubble, we talked about a little bit, but more in detail here. 2028 through 2031, full dive VR will attract massive investment. Virtual reality companies will promise total immersion. Digital paradise, the end of physical limitation. Stock prices will soar. By 2031, the first FDVR company will declare bankruptcy after it emerges that the technology causes permanent neurological damage. The sector will collapse, wiping out $500 billion in market value. The hormone customization bubble, 2030 through 2033, although this is already beginning. I'd really say this has started mainly in 2024 when Pluto first ingressed into Aquarius. We start to see kids being put on puberty blockers, adults or teenagers, young adults not even being able to coherently make decisions for themselves, getting put on hormones that would change their lives forever, and surgeries. So this has been going on for a long while, but we're going to see a very big peak in 2033, especially. You'll see what I'm talking about. Startups offering AI-driven, personalized hormone regimens will raise billions. The marketing will promise the perfect you, biochemical freedom, designer identity. By 2033, a major study will show that long-term use of AI-designed hormone cocktails leads to a 300% increase in certain cancers. Lawsuits will bankrupt the industry. The founders will have already cashed out, essentially, just like the medical industry and big pharma. So, The AI Oracle Bubble, 2034 through 2037. As the public loses faith in traditional institutions, a new generation of AI systems will be marketed as oracles, able to predict the future, answer any question, solve any problem. These systems will be no more accurate than their predecessors, for the desire for certainty will inflate their value. By 2037, a catastrophic prediction failure, an AI oracle confidently predicting a market rally that turns into a crash, will trigger a crisis of faith. The AI oracle industry will not collapse, it will mutate into a religious movement. Alright. So the Neptune and Aries market mantra, value is a dream, price is a hallucination. The only real asset is the one you can hold, and even that may be a rock painted gold. So daily work and unemployment, the gig dream. Under Saturn and Aries, work becomes hard. Under Neptune and Aries, work becomes unreal, a performance, a simulation, a game that no one remembers the rules of. So we have the dream job economy, 2027, almost said 2072, 2027 through 2032. Young workers will increasingly reject traditional employment in favor of creative gigs that offer autonomy and meaning. Content creation, digital art, virtual architecture, AI training. The pay will be low and unstable, but the narrative of being a creator will sustain them, like it does for me. By 2030, a majority of workers under 30 will be in the dream job economy. By 2032, a majority will be burned out, the dream revealed as a mirage. The return of the company town, 2033 through 2038. As the gig economy collapses, large corporations will offer a new deal, housing, healthcare, and a guaranteed income in exchange for total loyalty and continuous availability. The company town of the 19th century will return, but digitized. Employees will live in corporate-owned housing, use corporate-owned devices, and be monitored by corporate-owned AI. The deal will seem generous at first, the trap will close slowly. Universal basic income becomes universal basic surveillance by 2035. So I'd say by the mid-2030s, UBI will be implemented in most developed economies, not as a liberation, but as a control mechanism. UBI payments will be contingent on behavioral compliance, maintaining a minimum digital ID score, submitting to biometric monitoring, and participating in civic duties defined by AI. The freedom from labor will be the freedom to be watched. The agony of work under Neptune and Aries, you do not know if you are employed or unemployed. The gig platforms promise income but deliver precarity. The UBI promises security but delivers surveillance. The dream job promises meaning but delivers burnout. The only certainty is uncertainty, and uncertainty under Neptune is indistinguishable from drowning. Alright, let's talk more about geopolitics. The War of Dreams. So Neptune in Aries is a transit of wars fought for hallucinations. Borders will shift, alliances will dissolve, and no one will agree on what happened. We look at the active conflicts. From 2026 through 2039, we see the Phantom War. 2028 through 2034, a conflict between two nuclear powers will be fought entirely in cyberspace in the information domain. No soldiers will cross borders, no cities will be bombed, but economies will be destroyed, elections will be stolen, and populations will be driven mad by AI-generated propaganda. The war will have no end because no one can agree on who started it or what victory would look like. The secession of the virtual states from 2030 through 2036, as digital ID becomes primary, groups of citizens will declare their online communities to be sovereign nations. They will issue digital passports, cryptocurrencies, and AI-driven governance. Physical states will not recognize these virtual nations but will be unable to suppress them. The result will be a patchwork of jurisdictions, some physical, some digital, some both, some neither. And the climate cults from 2032 through 2039, as climate change accelerates, Neptunian death cults will emerge, groups that believe environmental collapse is a divine purification, that the only response is ritual suicide, or that the digital afterlife is the only escape. The first mass suicide of a climate cult will occur in 2034. The authorities will struggle to distinguish between religion, mental illness, and terrorism. Even though, how would you define this as a terrorist act? I mean, it's a cult, but if everyone's agreeing to commit suicide, how can you say that it was a terrorist act? I don't really know. I can blame one single individual when other people said yes to it. Maybe everyone got drunk. Maybe everybody got high. Who knows? So, the agony of geopolitics under Neptune and Aries, no one knows what is real. The propaganda is indistinguishable from the news. The war is indistinguishable from the peace. The enemy is indistinguishable from the ally. The only certainty is that you are being lied to, but you cannot tell which lies are strategic and which are delusional. Alright? So, the initiation for the collective, key dates, and then we'll have our closing note. So some questions I have for you guys in regards to this transit here, Neptune and Aries. It's a transit of questions, right? Not a transit of answers. And here's what it asks of you specifically. The individual practitioner, the student, whoever you may be. The first question is, who are you when no one is watching? Neptune dissolves the social self, the performed self, the self that exists for others. Under this transit, you will be forced to confront the bare self, the one that exists before identity, before narrative, before the dream. That self may be terrifying, it may be glorious, it will certainly be strange. What are you willing to die for? Neptune in Aries asks for sacrifice, not of the body necessarily, but of the illusions that sustain the ego. The warrior who fights for glory will find that glory is a dream. The pioneer who seeks the frontier will find that the frontier recedes forever. The only thing worth dying for is the truth. And the truth under Neptune is that there is no truth, only the search. Right. Where have you mistaken ecstasy for wisdom? Neptune rewards the mystic but punishes the fanatic. If you have ever felt certain that you are chosen, special, or divinely guided, Neptune in Aries will humble you, not cruelly, but necessarily. The ecstasy is real, the wisdom is not. The difference is the return. Can you come back from the ecstasy and live an ordinary life? And what dream are you afraid to wake from? Neptune's gift is a dream. Neptune's curse is the dream that becomes a nightmare. Under this transit, you will be offered a dream, a vision of who you could be, what you could achieve, how the world could be transformed. The question is not whether to dream. The question is whether you can wake up when the dream turns sour. All right. So for the collective, the initiation of the hallucination, Neptune and Aries will show us that our most cherished beliefs about the self, the nation, the economy, the body are shared hallucinations. They are not false, they are real in their effects, but they are also optional. The initiation is the discovery that we can choose to hallucinate differently or choose to stop hallucinating altogether. The correction for Neptune and Aries is not the return to reality, because reality under Neptune is just another hallucination. The correction is the capacity to hold multiple realities without demanding that any one of them be the truth. The mystic and the scientist, the artist and the engineer, the dreamer and the realist, they are all dreaming. The question is whether they can dream together. Alright, and our key dates, and then we're going to give our closing note. Alright. So, March 31st of this year, Neptune entered Aries. 0 degrees ingress. Aries point activates, the dissolution of the self begins. October of this year, Neptune retrogrades back into Pisces, brief return to oceanic dissolution, last chance to anchor in the collective. January of next year, Neptune re-enters Aries, 0 degrees, second ingress, the dissolution becomes permanent. From 2028 through 2029, Neptune squares Mars and Leo, first square, heroic delusion, charismatic leaders rise, the first wave of Neptunian psychosis. 2030, Neptune conjoins the Aries point exact, peak of the transit, a world event that defies explanation, UFO disclosure, mass hallucination, technological singularity. 2032, Neptune trine Uranus Gemini exact, the air trine of unreality. Post-truth becomes the only truth. 2035, Neptune sextile Pluto in Aquarius exact, opportunity for integration, power, and dissolution meet. Will it be liberation or chaos? In March of 2039, Neptune enters Taurus, and the transit, the dream solidifies into the earth. What was dissolved must be rebuilt. All right. And our closing note, the dream that wakes itself. Neptune in Aries is the transit of the warrior who dreams. The knife is a sword that cuts through illusion, but the sword itself may be an illusion. The agony is the loss of the self that thought it was real. The correction is the discovery that the self was never real, and that this is not a tragedy, but a liberation. The Institute does not promise that you will survive this transit with your identity intact. You will not. The you that enters the transit will not be the you that leaves, but the you that leaves will be more fluid, more compassionate, more capable of holding contradiction and uncertainty. The dream is not the enemy. The enemy is the belief that the dream is the only reality. Let's wake up, go back to sleep, wake up again. The difference is the practice, the willingness to keep waking, keep dreaming, keep waking. The stars do not compel, they dissolve. Neptune and Aries will happen regardless. Whether you drown or swim is not the question. The question is whether you will learn to breathe underwater. Alright. And now I wanted to go over criminal forensic astrology. Alright, yeah. So, this is from our same conceptualized institute. Or my conceptualized lore series, because I do a lot of these like astrology lore videos. Alright, so this is our case study series, The Witness of the Sky, and the Institute presents the following advanced forensic case studies, each applying astrological techniques to the analysis of criminal events. These reports are classified as retrospective simulations, demonstrations of method rather than active investigations. The charts are calculated for the prime meridian, local adjustments are noted where relevant. In our methodological note, forensic astrology does not replace forensic science. Provides a hermeneutic framework, a way of reading the signature of the event in the sky, identifying patterns of motive, timing, and concealment. The Institute's method emphasizes the Parana Talonta, fixed stars, rising with angles, and erratic degrees, and planetary aspects to the lot of fortune as key indicators of criminal intent and victim vulnerability. Alright, we're going to begin with case study number 1, which is the Midnight Cuckoo, but before we get started, I'm just making sure here about how much I actually have. So here's the appendix. This is also pretty cool for you guys. I'll check that out later. We have, I think there's 5 to be exact, and then our appendix. Alright, so we're going to go over 5 case studies. And we're going to dissect with advanced astrology. As you can see here, this is our chart data. We're going to switch up the colors, I think. Orange. I wanted a lighter blue, like that. Alright, so the crime is uxoricide by poisoning, concealed as natural death. Alright, and we have our location being Lake District, England, and we have our exact coordinates, which are also really good when we're doing this. And we see the date of death is presumed to be November 17th, 1983, with a chart time set to 2:13 a.m. GMT, time of last confirmed sighting. The victim is a female who's 42 years old, and the suspect is the husband of this female who's 45 years old and a pharmaceutical researcher, and she died by poisoning. So this is going to be pretty fucked up, but we're going to go through it and help you understand astrology, because that's what I do. So again, we have our chart data, which we're going to dissect in more detail here. Bear with me as I get ready to probably fill my water bottle because I don't have any water in there. So we'll go through this as soon as I am situated again, like a few seconds. Actually, I have a little bit. Not a whole bunch, but I got a little bit to keep me going in the water bottle. So, on screen you guys can see, we're going to go over the planet, the position of the planet, and we're also going to go over the house, and we're going to go over aspects. Alright? We begin with our planet. So the ascendant is the rising sign. It's 14 degrees Virgo. Paran is the position. So that should be in blue. And we see Vendemeatrix, 9 degrees Virgo, rising. Alright? Again, we see from the ascendant midheaven to Sun, to Moon, to Mercury, to Venus, to Mars, to Jupiter, to Saturn, to Pluto, to Neptune. We're going to dissect this, and then the fixed star as well. We're going to look at that in more detail and help you guys understand this chart data. So, 14 degrees Virgo ascendant, Paran, Vendemeatrix, 9 degrees Virgo rising. So, midheaven, 10 degrees Gemini, Uranus at 12 degrees Scorpio, opposite. We see Sun at 24 degrees Scorpio in the third house, conjunct Antares. So Antares, 9 degrees Sag, so not conjunct, actually Sun at 24 degrees Scorpio, conjunct fixed star Agena, 23 degrees Scorpio, the wounded knee. Sorry for that mistake. And Moon, 17 degrees Taurus in the 9th house, void of course. Anoretic, no, 17 degrees, but in opposition to Mars. Alright, so Mercury is 28 degrees Scorpio, anoretic. And we say that just because it's close to 29, but really it's 29. And then it's in the third house. So Mercury at 28 degrees Scorpio in the third house, retrograde. Venus, 8 degrees Capricorn in the fourth house, squaring Pluto. Mars, 22 degrees Taurus in the ninth house, opposite Mercury. Jupiter, 14 degrees Sagittarius in the fourth house, squaring Neptune. Saturn, 11 degrees Scorpio in the third house, conjunct the Sun. Pluto, 29 degrees Libra, the actual anoretic degree. Second house, and it's squaring Venus, and it's sextiling Neptune. And Neptune, 28 degrees Sagittarius, fourth house, and it's squaring Jupiter, and it's sextiling Pluto. So this chart tells us right away that we have a lot of secrets. We have a lot of hidden feelings and emotions and depths and subliminal hatred, even anguish and angst, because when we see a chart, someone has like a Virgo rising, let's say, they have their moon in Taurus, but the moon is void of course. So even though it's exalted, moon is wandering and it's kind of just lost all its energy. And we see Sun is in Scorpio. As well as Mercury in Scorpio, which is retrograde. And these Sun is in the third house in Scorpio. Mercury's retrograde in the third house in Scorpio. Saturn is in Scorpio in the third house, and it's conjunct the Sun. So this entity has a lot of secrets just by all these Scorpio placements we're seeing alone, right? And that's not even beginning to look at, the aspects and what those are doing. But we're going to dissect those right now. First, let's talk about fixed star Agena B Centauri, 23-degree Scorpio, the wounded knee associated with falls, collapses, and deaths that are assisted. And Parana Talanta text, Agena rising with the sun indicates a death that appears natural but is not. So, Agena rising. And it was rising with the sun. It's the sun at 24 degrees Scorpio conjunct the fixed star Agena, which is 23 degrees Scorpio, the wounded knee. All right. So Vendemiatrix rising, ascendant 14 degrees Virgo, star at 9 degrees Virgo, the Widowmaker. In forensic context, Vendemiatrix on the ascendant indicates a crime of quiet elimination, poison, suffocation, neglect. The killer is close to the victim, often a spouse or a caregiver. Mercury retrograde at 28 degrees Scorpio in the third house. Communication is twisted. The suspect lied repeatedly about the timeline. The anaretic degree indicates a point of no return. The suspect had planned this for a long time but executed it at the last possible moment. Pluto at 29 degrees Libra, the actual anaretic in the second house. The motive was financial. Second house, the anaretic degree suggests inheritance or insurance money that was almost available. A waiting period that was about to expire. The suspect could not wait. And moon void of course in Taurus in the ninth house opposite Mars. The victim was unaware, void moon of the danger. Mars in Taurus exaltation indicates the weapon, slow, steady, cumulative, poison administered over weeks. The opposition suggests the killer and victim were in opposition, marital conflict, but the victim did not perceive the mortal threat. And we have our forensic analysis. Chart shows a premeditated poisoning with financial motive committed by a spouse who had access to pharmaceuticals. The signature features Vendemiatrix on the ascendant, the Widowmaker star, and over 80% of confirmed spousal poisoning cases examined by the Institute. Vendemiatrix is angular, conjunct the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, or Imum Coli, MC or IC. Agena conjunct the sun, the wounded knee. The victim died in a fall. She was found at the bottom of the stairs with a skull fracture. Presumed accidental. Agena indicates a death that looks like a fall, but is not. Mercury retrograde anaretic. The suspect changed his story 3 times during the investigation. The anaretic degree suggests that each version was almost consistent, but contained a fatal contradiction. Pluto anaretic in the second house. The suspect inherited 500,000 pounds 6 weeks after the death. The waiting period on the insurance policy was 30 days. He administered the final dose on day 28. The case was reopened in 2010 after the suspect's second wife found his laboratory notes, which included a detailed timeline of aconite extraction. He was convicted in 2012. His chart at the time of arrest showed transiting Pluto conjunct his natal Mercury, the hidden truth exposed. All right. Alright, so our second case study is the Silence Choir, and the crime is a mass shooting at a music festival. Location is Oslo, Norway. The date July 22nd, 2011. Chart time set to 1725 CEST. Time of the first explosion. Perpetrator is Anders Breivik. Birth chart used for secondary analysis. Alright. So, we have our event chart data right away. We're going to look at the planet, position, house, and aspect yet again. Now if you see any questions or question marks that's like confused, these are just notes, but I'll help you understand what I was trying to go for and say here. So ascendant, 22 degrees Scorpio, Paran, Algol, 26 degrees Taurus, rising. No, Algol is in Taurus, so opposite. Correction, Algol setting, descendant, more accurate. Ascendant, 22 degrees Scorpio, so Algol at 26 degrees Taurus is opposite, descendant. Paran, the Hyades, weeping sisters at 5 degrees Gemini. No. Let's use fixed star Unukalhai Serpentis at 22 degrees Scorpio, the serpent's neck, associated with strangulation and silencing. Midheaven, 12 degrees Leo, fixed star Regulus, 29 degrees Leo, not conjunct. Used the nebula, 21 degrees Leo, the tail of the lion, associated with shame and fallen pride. Sun, 29 degrees Cancer, and erratic in the 9th house, conjunct Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer. No, Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer within an orb. Sirius, the scorcher. Moon, 25 degrees Aries, 5th house, square Pluto. Mercury, 10 degrees Leo, 10th house, conjunct Mars. Mars, 10 degrees Leo, 10th house, conjunct Mercury, trining Uranus. Jupiter, 4 degrees Taurus, 6th house, opposite Saturn. Saturn, 13 degrees Libra, in the 11th house, opposite Jupiter. Uranus, 4 degrees Aries, in the 5th house, trining Mars. Neptune, 0 degrees Pisces, in the 3rd house, squaring the Sun. And Pluto, 4 degrees Capricorn, in the 2nd house, squaring the Moon, is sextiling Mars. Very, very interesting chart. Alright, so fixed star Unukalhai, 22 degrees Scorpio, conjunct the ascendant, the serpent's neck in forensic astrology. Unukalhai rising indicates a crime of ideological strangulation. The perpetrator kills not for personal gain, but to silence a perceived enemy. The serpent coils around the throat of the victim. Alright? Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer, conjunct Sun, 29 degrees Cancer, within an orb. Alright? So the scorcher, Sirius, is a dog star associated with heat, fever, and madness. When conjunct the Sun in a mass shooting chart, Sirius indicates that the perpetrator acted under a delusional fervor, a belief that he was purifying the world. Sun at 29 degrees Cancer, anaretic in the 9th house, the anaretic degree of crises in the house of ideology, religion, and foreign lands. The perpetrator believed he was fighting a cultural war against immigration and multiculturalism. The 9th house shows the justification, a holy war fought in the mind. Mars conjunct Mercury and Leo in the 10th house, the warrior Mars and the communicator Mercury together in the sign of the king Leo at the MC, the public eye. The perpetrator planned to make a spectacle, to be seen, to be remembered, to deliver a message through violence. The conjunction is exact, 10 degrees Leo both, indicating a perfect fusion of thought and action. There was no hesitation. All right? So Moon in Aries, square Pluto and Capricorn, the emotional body, Moon, in the sign of the warrior, Aries, at war with the planet of power and death, Pluto. The square indicates rage that has been compressed for years. Perpetrator felt powerless, Pluto in Capricorn, the system, the state, and erupted in violent fury, Moon in Aries. So forensic analysis. The chart of the Utoya massacre, July 22nd, 2011, shows a premeditated ideological mass murder with a performative component. The perpetrator sought not just to kill, but to send a message. Unu Kauhai on the ascendant, the serpent's neck. The victims were silent. Young people engaged in political dialogue. The perpetrator viewed them as a serpent that needed to be strangled. Sirius conjunct Sun, the scorcher. The perpetrator used a firearm, heat, explosion. He also set off a bomb in Oslo, the first event. Sirius indicates destruction by fire and metal. Mars-Mercury conjunction in Leo at the MC. The perpetrator wrote a 1,500-page manifesto and released it hours before the attack. He wanted his words to be as deadly as his bullets. The conjunction in Leo, the sign of the king, shows his messianic self-perception. Sun anaretic in Cancer in the 9th house. The perpetrator believed he was defending Christian Europe. 9th house equals religion, foreign cultures. The anaretic degree shows that he had reached a point of no return. He had planned for years and could not turn back. Perpetrator's natal chart comparison. Breivik was born February 13th, 1979, Aquarius Sun, Scorpio Moon. His natal Mars was at 5 degrees Sagittarius, the Archer, on July 22nd, 2011. Transiting Mars at 10 degrees Leo was square his natal Mars. The classic signature of a violent outburst. Transiting Pluto at 4 degrees Capricorn was opposite his natal Sun. A complete identity collapse. He became the monster he had been imagining. The perpetrator was captured and sentenced to 21 years, extendable. His chart of sentencing showed Saturn returning to his natal Saturn, 28 degrees Libra. The karmic reckoning, he remains unrepentant. The stars do not compel repentance. Alright, our third case study is the vanished ledger. The crime is corporate embezzlement and fake death. Location is Zurich, Switzerland. The date of disappearance is September 14th, 2018. Chart time set to 23:47 CET. Last CCTV of suspect entering a private bank vault. Suspect CFO, 51 male. Amount embezzled, 47 million, converted to cryptocurrency. So we're going to look at our chart data yet again. And alright, sorry guys. I got an abrupt text message that I was not expecting to get that message. Alright, so just gonna prepare here. You guys don't see this, but my setup over here is just really fucking messy. Like, my setup is not the best right now, to be honest. I mean, I use my table, but my table has like all these stains on it. It's pretty impossible to clean up at the moment, but I'll take care of it eventually. Alright. There is going to be longer videos coming, like way longer than I've been doing, so that's what I'm mainly excited about doing right now. So we see our chart data, planet position, house aspect, ascendant, 8 degrees Cancer, Paran, Procyon, 25 degrees Cancer with an orb, rising, midheaven, 28 degrees Pisces, fixed star Fomalhaut, 3 degrees Pisces, not conjunct, Yushit, 29 degrees Pisces, the broken wing, and we see Sun, 21 degrees Virgo in the 4th house opposite Neptune, Moon, 14 degrees Sagittarius in the 8th house, squaring Mars. Mercury, 19 degrees Virgo in the 4th house, conjunct the Sun, squaring Saturn. Venus, 4 degrees Scorpio in the 5th house, trining Neptune. Mars, 2 degrees Aquarius in the 9th house, squaring the Moon, sextiling Jupiter. Jupiter, 23 degrees Scorpio in the 6th house, sextiling Mars. Saturn, 2 degrees Capricorn in the 7th house, squaring Mercury. Uranus, 0 degrees Taurus. Anoretic 0 degrees Taurus is not anoretic. 29 is 0 degrees is critical degree. It's the Aries point. Uranus at 0 degrees Taurus conjunct the Aries point. 0 degrees Aries, no 0 degrees Taurus is 30 degrees from Aries. Important but not anoretic. Neptune, 14 degrees Pisces in the 10th house, opposite the Sun. And Pluto, 18 degrees Capricorn in the 8th house, trine the Sun. So let's talk about this here. So the fixed star Procyon, 25 degrees Cancer rising with the ascendant 8 degrees Cancer with an orb. The little dog, the herald of morning. In forensic context, Procyon rising indicates a disappearance that is not a death, but the morning precedes the discovery the suspect is alive but hidden. Sheath, 29 degrees Pisces conjunct MC, 28 degrees Pisces, the broken wing. Sheath is associated with falls from height, drowning, and catastrophic failure of flight. In this case, the suspect flew. He escaped by a private jet to a country without extradition, but Sheath indicates that the flight will fail eventually. He will be caught or he will drown, metaphorically or literally. All right? You see Sun opposite Neptune in the 4th, 10th house axis. The Sun is identity, visibility, opposite Neptune, illusion, concealment across the IC-MC axis. Suspect erased his identity, he had plastic surgery, changed his name, disappeared into a country with no extradition. The opposition shows a complete split between his public self, CFO, husband, father, and his hidden self, fugitive. Mercury conjunct Sun, square Saturn. The suspect left a false paper trail, forged documents, fake transactions, a death certificate, filed in a foreign country. Mercury, documents, square Saturn, obstruction indicates that the lies were carefully constructed but contain a structural flaw. A single missing signature, a single mismatched date, the thing that will undo him. Moon in Sagittarius in the 8th house, squaring Mars in Aquarius. The 8th house is other people's money, the embezzled funds. Moon in Sagittarius, the seeker, square Mars in Aquarius, the revolutionary, indicates that the suspect moved the money through cryptocurrency and offshore accounts. He was not a traditional embezzler, he was a crypto pioneer who saw himself as beating the system. Pluto in Capricorn in the 8th house trine Sun. The transformation, Pluto, of corporate structures Capricorn through hidden resources, 8th house, was successful for a time. The trine to the Sun means the suspect felt invincible. He was not. The chart shows a highly premeditated financial crime with fake death and flight. The suspect planned for years. All right, forensic analysis. We're going to go into depth in this. Procyon rising, the herald of mourning. The suspect's family held a funeral for him in 2019. His wife and children believed that he was dead. Procyon indicates that the mourning is real, even though the death is fake. The loss is experienced. Sheet on the MC, the broken wing. The suspect fled to a country without extradition, Vanuatu. In 2021, he was recognized by a tourist who had worked at his former company. The flight was not as secure as he believed. Sheet's promise of a fall is being fulfilled. So these are just 2 examples out of the 4 we have. The other 2, Sun opposite Neptune, all right, the erased identity. The suspect underwent 2 plastic surgeries and changed his name, but his biometric data, iris scan, fingerprints remained. In 2022, Interpol issued a notice with his new face, generated by AI based on his old photos. Neptune's fog is clearing. In Mercury squares Saturn, the structural flaw. The suspect forged a death certificate from a clinic in Mexico. The clinic was later shut down for fraud. The Mexican authorities discovered that the doctor who signed the certificate had been dead for 3 years. The flaw was discovered in 2023. Extradition proceedings are ongoing. All right. The Institute's astrologers predict that the suspect will be arrested between September of this year and March 2028. Saturn square his natal Mars. Sheet's broken wing will bring him down, not in a plane crash, but in a courtroom. The money, most of it, will never be recovered. It has dissolved into the crypto ether, Neptune's realm. All right. This is our second to last case study here. Number Number 4, which is the House of Unburied Bones. We see our crime is a serial murder concealed as medical deaths. All right. And Kyoto, Japan is our location. Period 2015 through 2020. There are 6 deaths that occurred. The perpetrator is a male who's 48 years old and a hospital nurse. And the method is insulin overdose in geriatric ward. All right. So what we're going to do is a little bit different than what we've been doing. We're going to craft a composite chart of the first and last murders. The Institute constructed a composite chart for the first murder, March 3rd, 2015, 2:15 JST, and the last, December 17th, 2020, 3:40 GST. The composite is a midpoint chart used to identify the signature of the series. All right? So here's our composite chart data. We have the planet position, house aspect, but it's going to be a little bit different here. So ascendant, 23 degrees Libra, Peron. Spica, 23 degrees Libra, the wheat eater, symbol of justice but invisible because actually Spica is bright. Let's use Arcturus, 24 degrees Libra, the guardian of the bear, associated with vigilance and detection. Midheaven, 12 degrees Cancer, fixed star Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer, the scorcher again. Sun, 22 degrees Virgo, in the 11th house opposite Neptune squaring Pluto. Moon, 8 degrees Capricorn, 3rd house conjunct Saturn. Mercury, 15 degrees Aquarius, 5th house square Mars. Venus, 28 degrees Aries, 7th house opposite Jupiter. Mars, 18 degrees Scorpio, 1st house squaring Mercury. Jupiter, 29 degrees Capricorn, 4th house opposite Venus. Saturn, 9 degrees Capricorn, in the 3rd house conjunct the Moon. Uranus at 4 degrees Gemini, in the 9th house sextiling the Sun. Neptune, 8 degrees Pisces, in the 6th house opposite the Sun. Pluto, 10 degrees Capricorn, in the 3rd house squaring the Sun. All right. Let's dissect this composite chart data. Alright, so fixed star Arcturus, 24 degrees Libra, conjunct the ascendant, which is at 23 degrees Libra. So the guardian of the bear, in forensic astrology, Arcturus rising indicates that the truth will be revealed, but only after a long period of concealment. The star watches from the sky, waiting for the right moment to expose the crime. Sirius, 14 degrees Cancer, conjunct the midheaven, which is 12 degrees Cancer. Scorcher again in a medical setting. Sirius indicates death by injection, a needle that delivers poison rather than healing. The nurse used insulin, which causes hypoglycemic coma, a natural death in elderly diabetics. Alright. Sun in Virgo, 22 degrees opposite Neptune in Pisces, 8 degrees. The healer, Virgo, who becomes the killer, Neptune in Pisces, the dissolution of boundaries, the blurring of life and death. The opposition indicates that the perpetrator rationalized his crimes. He believed he was ending suffering, a Neptunian mercy that was actually murder. Moon conjunct Saturn in Capricorn in the 3rd house, the emotional body, Moon, fused with structure, limitation, and karma, Saturn, in the house of communication and siblings. The perpetrator was a loner who had no close relationships. He killed not out of passion, but out of cold calculation. The conjunction indicates a personality disorder, likely antisocial personality disorder with narcissistic features. All right, Venus at 28 degrees Aries in the 7th house opposite Jupiter, at 29 degrees Capricorn in the 4th house. The analytic degrees on both sides of the opposition indicate a crisis of relationships. Venus in Aries, the lover as warrior, opposite Jupiter in Capricorn, the judge. The perpetrator had been rejected by a romantic partner years before. The murders were a displaced revenge against a vulnerable elderly who reminded him of his own mortality. And Mercury in Aquarius square Mars in Scorpio. The killer communicated Mercury through code. He altered medical records, used jargon to confuse investigators. Mars in Scorpio, the hidden wound, square Mercury indicates that his method, insulin untraceable, was his message. He was showing that he was smarter than the system. Alright. composite chart reveals a serial killer with a god complex who operated within a system that failed to detect him for 6 years. Arcturus on the ascendant is the guardian. Sirius on the Misi. Yes, the midheaven, mid-sea. Sirius on the midheaven, all right? The scorcher in a medical setting, as well as Sun opposite Neptune, the rationalization. And we'll talk about Moon conjunct Saturn in Capricorn, the cold killer. So, Arcturus on the ascendant, the guardian. The case was finally solved when a junior nurse noticed that the insulin vials had been tampered with. The seals were broken. Arcturus watched until the right witness came forward. In Sirius on the midheaven, the scorcher in a medical setting, the hospital administration had been warned of unusually high mortality on the night shift, but they ignored the warnings because the perpetrator was a model employee. Sirius scorcher is the complacent. Sun opposite Neptune, the rationalization. When arrested, the perpetrator said, "I was helping them, they were suffering. The Neptune fog is thick. The court did not accept the defense." In Moon conjunct Saturn in Capricorn, the cold killer, the perpetrator showed no emotion during the trial. His chart indicates a complete dissociation between feeling and action. He's a Saturnine monster, not passionate, not insane, but empty. Alright. The perpetrator was convicted in 2022 and sentenced to life imprisonment. At the time of sentencing, transiting Pluto at 28 degrees Capricorn was exactly conjunct his natal Jupiter. Analytic degree from the composite. The judge, Jupiter, met the transformer Pluto. He is serving his sentence in a maximum security facility. The hospital has implemented mandatory double signature for all insulin administrations. Arcturus is satisfied. All right. We're going to finish up here with our 5th case study, which is the Phantom of the Freeway. So our crime is obviously vehicular homicide with hit and run, no witnesses. Location, Interstate 5, California. Makes sense in America. And our day is February 29th, 2020. Leap day, chart time set to 1:47 PST. Time of impact, victim is male, 23, pedestrian, and the suspect is unknown. The case is unsolved, all right? We do have our event chart data. So we see ascendant, 5 degrees Scorpio, Paran, Unukohai, 22 degrees Scorpio, not conjunct. Use Algo, 26 degrees Taurus, opposite, so setting more relevant. Capulus, 24 degrees Scorpio, the sword arm rising. And that's how you do that. Midheaven, 22 degrees Leo, fixed star Regulus, 29 degrees Leo, not conjunct. We used the nebula, 21 degrees Leo, the tail associated with shame and concealment. Sun, 10 degrees Pisces, the 5th house squaring Mars. Moon, 20 degrees Taurus, in the 7th house conjunct Algol, 26 degrees Taurus within orb. Mercury, 14 degrees Pisces, in the 5th house conjunct Sun, square Mars. Venus, 24 degrees Aries, in the 6th house trining Jupiter. Mars, 25 degrees Capricorn, in the 3rd house squaring Sun and Mercury. Jupiter, 22 degrees Capricorn, in the 3rd house conjunct Mars, trining Venus. Saturn, 27 degrees Capricorn, 3rd house conjunct Mars and Jupiter. Uranus, 3 degrees Taurus, in the 6th house, trining Pluto. Neptune, 18 degrees Pisces, in the 5th house, sextiling Pluto. And Pluto, 23 degrees Capricorn, in the 3rd house, trining Uranus, sextiling Neptune. All right. All right. So, fixed star Capulus, 24 degrees Scorpio, rising with ascendant, 5 degrees Scorpio with a 19 degrees orb, too wide. Let's use the actual star on the ascendant, Azulius, 1 degree Sagittarius, right? The sting of the scorpion associated with sudden, sharp pain. Better, the ascendant is 5 degrees Scorpio, which is conjunct the fixed star Nayat, 4 degrees Scorpio. The artery of the scorpion, Nayat, indicates bleeding out. The victim died of massive trauma, all right? So moon in Taurus, 20 degrees, conjunct Algol, 26 degrees Taurus in the 7th house. The moon, the body, the public, conjoined Algol, the severed head, in the house of open enemies, 7th house. Victim was struck from behind. The enemy was unseen. Algol indicates decapitation. The victim suffered catastrophic head trauma. The moon in Taurus shows that the body was left in the road. Earth sign, fixed, unmoving. All right. Sun and Mercury in Pisces, 10 degrees and 14 degrees, squaring Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Stellium, and Capricorn, 22 degrees through 27 degrees. The victim, Sun, was walking, Mercury in Pisces, disoriented, possibly intoxicated, when he was struck by a vehicle, Mars, the car, Saturn, the impact, Jupiter, the speed. The square indicates a sudden, violent collision. The driver, Mars in Capricorn, a professional driver, a trucker, did not stop. Saturn in Capricorn shows a cold decision to flee. Venus in Aries, 24 degrees, trine Jupiter in Capricorn, 22 degrees. The perpetrator, Venus in Aries, the self-oriented driver, benefited, trine Jupiter, from the escape. The vehicle was likely stolen or had fake plates. The trine indicates that the driver had prior experience with evasion. And Pluto in Capricorn, 23 degrees, sextiling Neptune in Pisces, 18 degrees. The crime was concealed, Neptune, through transformation, Pluto, of evidence. The vehicle was probably repainted or destroyed. The sextile showed that the concealment was effective for now. So the chart of an unresolved hit and run shows the perpetrator's signature and the astrological conditions for eventual resolution. Heya Nayat, the artery on the ascendant, the victim bled out at the scene. The first responders noted massive hemorrhaging. Heya Nayat is the star of blood loss. Moon conjunct Algol in the 7th house. The body was found face down, head severely injured. Algol's severed head is literal. The 7th house placement indicates that the victim was targeted, not random. The police suspect road rage. The driver and victim may have had a prior altercation at a gas station 20 minutes earlier. Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Stellium, and Capricorn squaring the Sun. The vehicle is a heavy truck. Saturn and Capricorn, structure, weight. Mars, the engine. Jupiter, size. The police are looking for a semi-trailer with front end damage. The square to the Sun indicates that the driver saw the victim, but did not brake. Venus trine Jupiter. The driver had a female accomplice, Venus, who helped hide the vehicle. The trine suggests that the accomplice is a romantic partner, Venus in Aries. The driver's own sign, trine Jupiter, expansion, covering. Unsolved status as of this year, the case remains open. The Institute's astrologers predict that the perpetrator will be identified between 2028 and 2031. Transiting Uranus and Gemini will square the event chart to Pluto. Trigger will be a confession, Uranus and Gemini, communication. From the accomplice, Venus. The perpetrator's chart at the time of the crime showed transiting Pluto opposite his natal Mercury. He's been keeping the secret, but Pluto will force it out. The agony of the unsolved case, the victim's family still waits. Nayat weeps for the blood that was not avenged, but Arcturus, the guardian, is watching. The stars do not forget. All right. Oops. There we go. So now I want to go over our appendix here, and then we'll close up the video. So this is Forensic Astrology Methodology, Institute Standard. Institute's Criminal Forensic Division adheres to the following protocols. Event chart priority, the chart of the crime, time and place of the act, takes precedence over the perpetrator's natal chart. The event chart contains the signature of the act. And we can also do composite charts like I already showed. Fixed stars as witnesses, Parana Talanta, stars rising, culminating, setting, or anti-culminating, are primary indicators. Each star has a forensic signature, Algol, violence to the head, vendomeatrix, poisoning, capillus, bladed weapons, unukauhai, strangulation, silencing, procyon, disappearance, fake death, spica, justice delayed, sheath, fall, flight failure. Anaretic degrees 29 degrees and critical degrees 0 degrees indicate a point of no return, a crisis or fated event. In forensic context, anaretic planets often point to the motive. For example, Pluto anaretic in the second equals financial desperation. Moon void of course indicates that the victim was unaware or that the perpetrator acted without impediment. A void moon often correlates with perfect crimes, but the perfection is temporary. All right. Hard aspects: square, opposition, conjunction between malefics, Mars, Saturn, Pluto, and personal planets Sun, Moon, Mercury indicate violence, concealment, and premeditation. The lot of fortune, pars fortunae, its placement and aspects reveal the outcome of the crime, whether the perpetrator will be caught, whether the victim will receive justice. Now, the Institute reminds practitioners that forensic astrology is a supplement to, not a replacement for, physical evidence, witness testimony, and proper investigative procedure. The stars illuminate, they do not convict. Now, with peace and love, thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one teaching you more astrology. With peace and love, Piscean out.